Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. We're back with another win. This is getting easy by the week. I didn't really like match reactions last season, especially this time last season, because it was constant like, oh, how have we dropped points again? Oh, we lost. Oh, we didn't do that. I'm loving this. It's easy. We've only lost once in the league so far. I'm quite enjoying it. We've got a great panel. We've got the usual Monday crew, Barry and Charlie. I'm sure we're going to talk sense as they always do, and a new face that is probably going to talk sense as well, just from the chats that I've had with us. So Jess, thanks for coming on. I hope you are doing well. I shall unmute you just in case, because that's usually an issue on the first one.
Happy to confirm I'm doing all right, and thank you for having me on.
No worries. I can see everyone in the comments as well. I'll get all your comments in a second. But I will just start off. We never usually do this, but we're a bit tied on who. As you know, if you've watched our match reactions before, we have 4 names on our player of the match poll. We are struggling with the 4th name for this week. So any suggestions on who you think should be player of the match, stick it in the chat, and then we'll put the poll up in about 20 minutes' time. But we've got 3 names. We need a 4th, and we're a bit torn between a couple of players. So if you want to stick your player of the matches in the chat in the next 5-10 minutes or so, and I'll get the poll up ready for the end of the show. So I want to start with attendance. I want to start with atmosphere and all things like that before we actually get into the game itself. I can't remember the official attendance, just over 30,000. I think 36 was sold or around that. Charlie, come to you first. We did a show on this obviously last week. We spoke about this. It's about roughly where I kind of said it was going to be, that we'd sell 36. Less than 6k kind of attend on that. Very similar to last season when we had 26 sold and 20 turned up. How are you seeing it? It's a new record, for the club. Are you seeing it as a big positive? Do you think it's a little bit underwhelming? It wasn't as high as you thought. How are you kind of seeing it from that point of
view? Obviously, it's a massive improvement on last time. So an extra 10,000 is obviously on top of what we had when we last played at Old Trafford when the girls played there. I would have probably hoped it would have been more, considering there was no men's football happening. I still think there has to be some looking at who the opposition are, and that's not as in Aston Villa aren't a good side, although they weren't great at the weekend. If you look at the other big attendances there've been, Arsenal have played Spurs and United at the Emirates. Obviously, the big London derby with Spurs is going to bring a lot of the crowd across, a lot of the Arsenal and Spurs fans across. The same way, like when we went there, we filled out our away allocation of about 1,500, and there were United fans everywhere else as well around that ground. City, when they first did it, it was us, and it's us again, which is the right opposition. So I think that perhaps needs to be looked at. When the team you're playing only asks for 200 seats, and then they don't even bring that many, that has a bit of an impact. I think if you were playing a Liverpool or a City, or an Arsenal, but probably most likely City or Liverpool, you're looking at a lot more, both with opposition fans and home fans. But yes, you would hope for more, but it's still, when you drill down into it, it's still 10,000 more than it was last time. And at LSV, the attendances are also regularly higher as well. So it's a positive in that regard.
No, that's a fair point. And Jess, same question to yourself. Was it higher than you thought? Was it lower? We're playing a game here, higher or lower. But how do you think the attendance was? Like I said before, it's a record. But I think the reason I bring it up is because I think, as somebody's just said there, and we were just talking about it backstage, 40,000 for the derby. Obviously, next week, that's probably going to go up as the week goes on. But did you see it as a good thing, the attendance that we saw at the weekend?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I definitely thought it was a good thing. I think it was the sort of attendance record. However, I think I saw beforehand that they'd sold kind of like 36,000 tickets, so I was kind of hoping to be sort of pushing that 40k mark. However, I think it's like kind of said, I know obviously Aston Villa aren't a bad team, but I think there's a lot of associations drawn still against how they perform in like the men's league. So when you're comparing that to a game like against Arsenal or City, so for example the derby this weekend, I think that's just got such a big draw to it for people that don't even really care about women's football, let's say, because they just see Manchester derby and they think, oh, great, I can the actual chance to go and watch a Manchester derby, because for a lot of people, you're never going to get the chance to see it.
Certainly away tickets as well. That was one of the things, amongst a few other factors that actually drew me to women's football in the first place, was the away section. Well, lack of, but obviously at least you can go to away games, whereas the men's, you've got, as Mark I'm sure will say in the comments, you've got next to no chance. Someone else in the comments can confirm this, how many tickets sold. It was around 36. I think that was the last figure I saw anyway. It might be close to 37, but it was about that anyway. I can see a lot of comments already about the band. I want to talk a bit about the atmosphere after this, but I want to try and not talk about the band too much because it will end up being a full-on rant, I'm sure, for the next half an hour. But we won 5-0, so I don't want to focus too much on that. Barry, yourself, you were on the same show. In fact, you were hosting it. It was your fans forum last week. We spoke about the attendance. Was it what you expected?
Yes. We won over 30,000 and we got over 30,000. I don't really think there's, it was more than the Newcastle game, which, we definitely didn't go under. It's a record for us at home. So, it's all progression, isn't it? And I think that's the way to look at it. Progress, progress, progress. There we go. Does that answer your question nice and succinct?
That was short and sweet for you, that.
I'm not well. I'm on my deathbed here. The fact I'm here at all is quite impressive.
I know. I really appreciate you jumping on in our hour of need, so to speak. What's everyone else saying in the comments? Ian's already saying the issue with Old Trafford depends on the fixtures. Yeah, I mean, it's not all on the club. A lot of people do blame the club for a lot of it, but it does depend on some other factors as well, I'm sure. Right, let's talk about the atmosphere a little bit then before we go into the game itself. Charlie, how did you find it? Because I spoke to quite a few people that were in, as we know, our kind of friends that stood with you in the singing section, so to speak, that didn't think it was as good as what LSV usually is. Part of that is obviously down to the size. If you've only got 30, 40, 100 people at most chanting in a 70,000 stadium, it's not, the noise isn't going to carry. Whereas at LSV, it's a bit smaller, so it carry a bit more. How did you find the atmosphere? And obviously, if you want to touch on the band, you can. But
I don't want to touch on the band.
I didn't think so. But what did you think of the atmosphere overall?
Again, I would say where I was stood, it was really good. But that's with people that know the chants and regularly sing them. I think it's hard to expect people who are new to coming to watch them play to all of a sudden be able to get involved with every chant that's happening. And what I would say is that, when the goals happened and when something exciting was happening, there was an audible response from the crowd. But I think there's so much onus put on the fact that if you have a women's football game in a big stadium, it's not 90 minutes of constant chanting like it is at men's games. The men's games have been like this for decades. Like they've built to this point. It's not just going to happen. But the key thing is that people are wanting to come in and watch. And I don't think we should I think we sometimes focus too much on, was the atmosphere like it would be a men's game? Was it really loud all the time? We need people in and we need people to want to keep coming back. So hopefully they're coming in and they're seeing good performances and that's what will keep them coming back. The atmosphere at the Emirates was really good where we were because there was 1,500 of us who were all chanting and getting involved. And you're just not going to have that unless you've got 4,000 or 5,000 people together who want to chant. It's not going to carry across a massive stadium. But also, again, there was pretty much no away allocations. There was no one to aim things at. There was no back and forth because there was no opposition fans there. So, yeah, the atmosphere wasn't like it would be at a men's game or like at LSV where it's smaller and so the noise travels better. But I wasn't expecting it to be either. So it didn't worry me, really.
What's Mark talking about here then? A quick little comment before Jess comes in. What's this S Club story? What's this about?
What a good song! Reach for the stars. Everyone knows that.
It's just called
Everyone
Reach.
knows the dance. It was brilliant.
What, did you do a full-on reenactment? Did you?
I know it. When I was in year 5 at primary school, I did the whole dance to that with 6 of my friends. I won't be doing it now.
Nobody filmed that. Barry, come on. Thought you'd have
More
got that.
importantly, can we just point out that Mark Henry tried to start a Mexican wave? I saw it.
Disgusting.
No way. Mark, come on.
We should just be grateful there weren't any Mexican waves at a women's football game, let's be honest.
Yes, that was I was glad I didn't see that around on the TV watching on. Don't even get me started on that song. I don't like it as it is, and obviously I watched the boxing later that night, and obviously it's there as well, so you can't get away from it.
I said I wouldn't mention the band, but I will briefly. I'm anti the band. However, they could have helped themselves out by doing some Man United related songs. Like I love Seven Nation Army; it's a great tune, but I don't need it blasting out when when Ona Battle's blitzing it down the wing. I don't need that.
Yeah, I
go on, Jess.
Like could have been okay. Don't get me wrong, I'm not really a massive fan, but they could have been okay if they at least were kind of getting it if it was a United band, because essentially it was just a football band, like, or an England band. Like anyone listening would not have known what game they were at. And yeah, Sweet Caroline, great, England Lionesses. We had a great summer, but it just kind of screamed to me that whoever had organised that actually has no real concept of women's football beyond the Euros this summer. It's like they watched the Euros, saw what made us happy in the Euros, and thought, oh, I know, we'll just like copy and paste that into the Women's Super League. And it just doesn't quite work. We have our own teams as different teams. You can't just sing the same songs all the time. It's just not going to work.
I think, yeah, I agree with that. And I think, Barry, you made this point on the vlog, actually. And I think you said it in one of our chats as well, that the band outside the ground, it's not too bad. But just before I come to you, Barry, actually on that and the atmosphere of yourself, Jess, I wanted to ask you, actually, could you hear the singing section where you were? I know you're in kind of East Stand. Did it come across like a loud singing section? Or
yeah, so I mean, it wasn't as loud as I necessarily expected, but I guess some of it. So, like you say, I was in the East Stand. I think I mentioned before, I'd kind of booked tickets probably in the wrong place without really thinking. But round me, to be honest, the atmosphere was all right. There was like a few groups of people singing, mostly kids. But my biggest gripe was the Vuvuzelas, because there was a bloke in front of me just going mad on it in the second half, and I had a headache by the end. I've honestly never felt so much like getting up and moving at a football game. But it really was too much. So I do think they should be banned from a personal perspective. Again, it just screams of like, like kids going to watch England play kind of thing. Great if we could get. The biggest problem is they don't necessarily know the songs. So I think some of it's just sort of, teaching people. I know I got an email prior to the game from Man United with a kind of songbook attached. But I think as the attendances hopefully kind of grow week on week, more people are going to learn the songs. More people are going to keep coming back and are going to be more inclined to actually join in with the singing.
No, it's a good point you make, actually, about the song but being emailed. And I hope it does, because those bloody horns or vuvuzela or whatever you want to call them, I wasn't even at the game and it was annoying me. It sounded very much like the opening game of the Euros, actually, that was at Old Trafford at times. That's what it sounded like. But Barry, for you, what did you think of the atmosphere then? I know you're not a huge fan. I know you like the band outside, but what did you think of the atmosphere kind of overall and everything in and around it?
I did like the band outside. I actually thought it was quite a nice touch outside. I mean, Charlie and I met up just away to the Trinity statue. So that was very much, the video was very organic in that respect. We're walking past the Trinity and there they were. We didn't video it because the band were there. We just sort of heard them. And that was quite nice. Like they were doing some, I mean, they actually played Sailor V on the band by Bewitched. Which just left me. I mean, I said it to her. I said, it's Sailor V being played by a brass band. What's happening here? So, yeah, it was kind of like someone had taken, my old school disco and tried to play it there. It was very weird. But I didn't mind it. Didn't mind it at all. The minute I found out they were in the ground, I still struggle. How can you take a trombone in, but I'm still not allowed a lid on my Coke? I'm that very tricky. And it's something that I think I will always struggle with. But there you go. Listen, I thought the atmosphere was brilliant in our end. It always is. My gripe isn't with the band. I don't really care too much one way or the other. I think it was a poor decision. I think everybody knows it was a poor decision, and I would be amazed if they're here again next time. My problem was the crowd, actually. 30,000 people, and I felt that we had some people there who made Arsenal seem loud, if I'm brutally honest with you. It's rare for me to go in on the fans, but I thought it was atrocious. There were some really good opportunities for people to get involved. Some of the songs aren't hard. They're songs that have been sung by Manchester United for years and years, and they weren't involved. And even simple things, I get that people might not want to get involved and sing too much, but things such as stand up if you love the Reds. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do, isn't it? To stand up. I've seen that happen in football grounds across the country, people being sung with an opportunity to stand up and show your support for the team that you're there for. I don't know if they were glued to the seat or what, if they were deaf like me, or if they're just boring. But whatever it was, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of how bad it was. When you compare that to how it was against Arsenal, we had 1,500-ish United fans, and that was banging. It was rocking. It was bouncing. It was just like we were flogging the proverbial dead horse, I felt, on this particular game. And so, no, I was not a huge fan of the efforts from others to make it. And I get that not everybody wants to sing. I do get that, right? I'm not saying you must sing if you come in. You know, it's not like a karaoke bar. I get it, right? You don't have to do the singing. But I just think little things like that could have happened. It was quite easy, joining with the United chant, do something like that. But no, I thought, if I'm honest with you, Connor, I thought it was absolutely atrocious.
No, it's a fair answer. We had a range of different answers there. But yeah, I think the only things that, obviously, because I'm the only one here that did watch it on the TV, the only thing that came through on the TV were the Vuvuzelas and the band. Unfortunately, I didn't hear you guys. And you're not
band's way down the other corner. The band's down the Stretford end. So what I'm talking about is, I can understand, right? If you're over by the tunnel, I fully get you not hearing what we're singing. Get that entirely. But the people next to us, they were looking at us as we're singing it. There was a geezer down the front on the other side, on the left-hand side. He got up, he gave it the hands and everything. And you're like, it's not hard. You know, I refuse to believe that there were people there that didn't hear that. I just think, genuinely, people need to get out more.
Fair enough. There was a comment a bit further on. Where is it? Get Connor to bring his guitar. If you're on about that one there, unless you want to hear, like, I don't know, Iron Maiden or Metallica or something like that, which I'm really bad at playing, you don't want me to bring that along. Although Metallica would be quite a good little intro song, I feel. There's some good songs there. I've just stuck the player of the match poll in the chat. The fourth name, we've gone for Zelen purely because that's who people said when I asked earlier on in the show who the fourth name was. The other three we'd already decided on. So you've got a choice: Ona, Tooney, Russo, or Zelen for the poll. We'll come back to that in about, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes time. Right, let's get into the game then. Charlie, go on. I don't want to go through goal by goal because I feel like we'll be here all night if we do that. But there are a couple of goals that I will pinpoint. But I just want to ask you overall, how do you think? I'm actually going to start with a question. It's really far down on my list of questions, but I'm going to start with it. Do you think it was a good performance? Because Skinner and Tooney, both in their post-match interview, said that it was. They didn't say it wasn't good enough. I can't remember the exact quote, but they weren't very happy, I don't think, with the performance overall. Do you think it was a good performance? Because there's a lot of people saying it was. Some people saying that we didn't actually play that well, but did score 5. How did you see it?
I do think it was a good performance. I think there's always room for improvement, and I like that they said that. I think when Skinner first came in, like, I remember getting absolutely decimated by Chelsea at LSV, PTSD, and him coming out and saying, it's brilliant. There's no point in getting annoyed. Like, we tried really hard. And that was really hard for me to come to terms with. So I actually quite like this mentality shift that there has been, which is, yeah, we won. Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, we did enough to win. We need to do better, though. Because if you want to get anywhere near Chelsea, because let's be honest, they're the bar, aren't they? They are the ones that you want to be as good as and surpass when it comes to performance. You have to have high expectations. But yeah, I think it was a good performance. To win 5-0, against a good Aston Villa side, a much improved Aston Villa side who shook things up a little bit when they bought Rachel Daly, but she barely had a sniff, kept her very, very quiet. I think, yes, it was a good performance. I think what I like is that we've always had a lot of possession, but last season it felt like we didn't do enough with it, whereas now we are doing a lot with it. I think we are much more physical increasingly. I've written that on my notes because I said it for the Arsenal game as well, and the games before the Chelsea game, that we're so much more physical. We're winning so many more ground duels, so many aerial duels. I think we've complained for a couple of years about being too nice. Sorry, that's my dog's seen a cat or something. We complained rightly, I think, about us being too nice, whereas now we're much more physical, giving teams a bit of a kick in. And I think we played really good football. I think we pressed really well from the front. I think that was Paris. I think we were pretty tidy on the ball. There was a couple of times where we gave the ball away in sloppy positions or a bit ponderous on it. But that will happen when you're trying to build your attacks from the back. Those things will happen. And it's just about correcting those mistakes in future. And I also think we're more clinical. We had 9 shots on target and we scored 5. Should have been 6 if the referee was doing their job properly. So yes, a good performance. But I like that the manager and the star player both came out and said, yeah, it was fine, we won. We need to do better, though. I think that's a good sign.
No, that's fair points. I agree, Sarah, with that one. Not to spend on one goal scorer. I can't. How many different scores is that now? I've got it written
12.
down. 12, bloody hell. And only 2 of the new signings now yet to score. One of them's a centre half who's hardly played. The other one's been out injured since the start of the season. So we're doing all right there from signings from the summer. Yeah, John said I didn't think it was a top-class performance, but a great result. We did give the ball away a fair bit in midfield. Yeah, I mean, Jess, how did you kind of see it? Because there was some shaky moments. I think it was when we were 2-0 up. Villa had quite a few chances, and I was still thinking we're not clear. Even at 3-0, I was thinking they're getting a lot of chances here. Like, what's going on? But
absolutely. I think some of it, when you're playing a team that you're kind of dominating so much like that, I think it's easy to kind of switch off. Sort of become a bit lax in your kind of like defensive midfield and defensive positions. I mean, when I watched the highlights back after the game, I was actually surprised at how many chances Villa actually had, or how many kind of chances we gave them. And all of their chances kind of came down to poor decisions by us. So, for example, players leaving the Villa attackers unmarked. I think we also saw Katie Zellam kind of staying a little bit too long on the ball, and that was Villa's best chance. I think Alicia Lehman had a good shot on goal there, and Earps once again kind of keeping us in it. Well, not keeping us in it, but keeping us a clean sheet. I think in terms of how we played moving forward, I thought we were incredible. We just ripped them apart. Some of our passing I thought was phenomenal, but again, I'd like as well that Skinner and Tooney both came out and said that there is room for improvement, because I think if you are sort of being critical of that game, which you need to be, if we're sort of challenging for top 3, we do need to strive for perfection. But I think to maintain a clean sheet against, like say, a very good Aston Villa side, they're doing really well this season, especially Rach Daly. So I think in all, good result. But yeah, I like that they're already talking about kind of how they can improve moving forward.
No, that's fair points made there. I'm finding it hard to disagree with what's been said already. I'm going to throw this question in with you, Barry, on top of the original question about the performance, and just that one from Ellie there. Are we still winning the league?
Why would I change my mind? Anything you've seen that would make me change my mind?
Not at the moment. You're slowly convincing people, but like week by week.
It's not me convincing people. I just had what George Michael told me I had to have, which was faith. And, so I did it. And they're proving me even more right than I thought I could be, which is brilliant. It's so good to watch. I find it bizarre. We've won 5-0. This time last year, we played Aston Villa at home. We won 5-0. And yet we've been sat here talking about atmosphere. We've been sat here talking about bands. And actually, it was such a comfortable win. Such a comfortable win. No point did I feel worried. Rumour has it that Millie Turner and Rachel Daly wanted to sleep on the sofa because it was that much of an absolute humdinger of a battle there. I mean, no quarter was given and none was asked for. It was unreal. It genuinely, we were just so good. And, yes, there's going to be bits we can pick out of it, but in so many ways, it makes me laugh because, that's Mark Skinner's job. It's great that the players, this is what I mean, you see, when they have a bad game and people say we have to tell them they've had a bad game, it's our job as fans. We are the gatekeepers of standards. We're not. They know. It's their job. They're paid to do it. So we don't need to tell them whether they've done something wrong or not. They know already. And trust me, they feel it just as bad as we do. So for me personally, brilliant game. Really enjoyed, like I say, just a comfortable game. It was so easy. And the takeaway I took from that is that if there is anybody that looks at that game and says Carla Ward is the next Man United manager, then I think you're wrong. Massively wrong. Mark Skinner's Barmy Army is better than Carla Ward's Barmy Army. Full stop. End of story. Get a grip of your lives if you think Carla Ward is the next person to take us forward, because it is absolutely not. Charlie's got a better job of doing it than Carla has.
That feels like a backhanded compliment. I think I'd be quite good.
There it is.
I wanted to jump in what Jess talked about, how like good we were from an attacking point of view. I just want to echo that really, because it increasingly feels like more often than not that the Leicester game, maybe not included, was bad at the office. It does feel like every time we get the ball and we break forward that something's going to happen. Every single time. And it's like, if you look at the 5 goals, they're all really different goals as well. It's not just route one. It's not just one strategy. This is how we're going to score a goal. It's not even, oh, it's not working, so we need to change the approach. It's different things happening all the time. And our position was really good, because you could see, I was turning around to like Mark and Barry and Ian and saying, look, they're like, we've gone into now something different's happening now, because they've brought in the wide forwards and now they've gone into a really narrow front 3. And you could see it was changing where they were depending on what was happening in the middle and what our midfielders were doing. So we talked about them maybe not having the experience or the football intelligence to change up a game. The players are doing all sorts of different attacking lineups within a single game, which is what made it so difficult. Like Aston Villa's defence had a horrible time at the weekend. And again, they're not pushovers as a defensive unit either. It's just really exciting. And again, another clean sheet. That's what you want from your defence. Like Mary Earps will expect to be making those saves, because that's what a good keeper that she is now. But again, yeah, there's always room for improvement. There's so many positives, particularly from an attacking point of view. It's brilliant.
There's a couple of comments about Ona. I want to get back to her in a second, but I wanted to bring. I said I was going to do it. Somebody commented on our matchday vlog yesterday, saying that we actually play better as an attacking unit with Thomas in the front line than we do with Paris or Garcia. Now that to me was an interesting shout, and I said that we'd bring it up on the reaction because I thought, why not? She did come on. She did have did she come on? Thomas? I can't even remember who came on. There was a lot of subs.
Yeah, she came on. She had quite a while. I think she came on. Like I haven't written it down. The 63rd minute.
There we go. Jess, I'll come to you. Do you think that's right? Do you think we do play better with Thomas in the front line over Paris and Garcia, or do you think that Paris had a good game out there as well? Or because I don't think Paris is great personally. But...
No, when I was watching the game with my friends, Paris was probably the only person I kind of called out almost. And I said, or me and my friends all said that she really wasn't having a good time. Well, it's not that she wasn't having a good time. It's just in comparison when everyone else was playing so well. I noticed quite often she kind of made the wrong decision, or she'd just take one too many touches. I think she's kind of exceeded my expectations in some previous games, but I thought that she didn't have her best game, let's say, yesterday. In terms of Garcia, I think she's a fantastic player, and she's one that I'd be interested to see kind of more of. But yeah, that's an interesting point to be honest. It's not something I've really thought about, but now you kind of mentioned it, yeah, I'm thinking Thomas has been kind of fantastic recently. So potentially, yeah, over those two, she's got to be sort of in contention maybe for starting or, in that position, because I think she was playing really well.
It's interesting because I think, Charlie, you made the point after Arsenal that was probably her best kind of 30 minutes at United. Do you agree with that? Do you think that she's forcing her way into that conversation?
Yes, I do. And again, I think that's down to the competitive element. So she wasn't having the best of time at the back end of last year, but we were very light, so she kept playing. Whereas now there is so much competition for that across that forward line. Like Garcia was brilliant at the start of the season, wasn't she? Ona obviously got injured and she hasn't just walked back in. What I will say about Paris over the last few games, though, is I feel, and I've no idea, this is just me taking a while stab in the dark, really. I feel like she's being sent out there to do the job of pressing and pressing and pressing. Just harry that back line, chase the ball, run them down for 60 minutes, please. Exhaust them. Because you might have noticed the last few games, she's come off at 60 minutes. So she's just pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed. She's like the trigger for it. She's the one that goes first every time, really, no matter where the ball is. Then she comes off. And then as the defenders, like the Arsenal defence were the same, they are knackered. You bring on Martha Thomas or Garcia, and they get so much time and space because by that point, the defensive unit you're against have been pressed to death by Paris and Tooney as a bit of a combo. And it means that your subs can then come on and make a massive difference because they're playing against a really tired back line. So I think even though on Saturday she might not have had the end product we want, I think she did there was a couple of situations where she could have played a better ball or a different ball to someone in a better position. But as the other job she was doing, which was to press and harry, I still think she did that really, really well. And I think sometimes jobs like that can go unnoticed. They're quite important. Like, you think about the Euros, that's what Ellen White was really doing. Let's be honest. She was pressing for 60 minutes so that Russo could then come on and run at tired defenders. It feels a little bit like that's what's happening here. And it's, again,
I think that's a really great point, definitely.
Yeah.
And like you're sort of seeing that more and more now with teams are kind of going for that tactic. You know, put a player, get them to run the defenders ragged for 60 minutes, throw someone else on, and then they kind of get all the glory almost. But yeah, you're definitely right. I think a lot of that work potentially goes unnoticed.
Yeah, but yeah, like Thomas came on. Like, how good have our subs been? Like, look at the subs. Look at the play. We talked, didn't we, about needing people to come on and make a difference, and that's what Martha Thomas is doing. She came on. She was brilliant against Arsenal. She got an assist today. Rachel Williams scores. So the subs are coming in and they're doing a really good job. And I think it was Rachel Williams in a post-match talked about that. She said it's a team game. Everyone's got a role to play. We know that when we come onto that pitch, we have to take our opportunities because it's important for the team. And that's what they're doing. And Martha Thomas has been brilliant. She's been brilliant the last few games when she's come on. She's made a massive difference. And that's what you want from your subs.
No, 100%. It's something we said all pre-season when we were doing these shows, that we need subs to make an impact this season. Lanzo, I can see your comment about Leon. I'm going to come back to that when we talk about the Everton game, because I don't feel it's right that we talk about subs that didn't come on in a game that we won 5-0, because again, it's kind of putting a negative on a big win. But she probably is in contention for Wednesday when we play Everton, so I'm going to come back to that one. We can go into the goals in a little bit in detail, but I want to stick with kind of the line of questioning that I've got kind of in order here. I've got it written down as terms of, do you think we rely on Ona too much? And Barry, I'm going to come to you first. No, let me rephrase that question. Do we rely on Ona for our attack too much? Now, obviously, I think you said it. The reason I'm coming to you first, Barry, is because last week we did the show. I think it was last week, and you said we shouldn't be relying on a right back to produce as much as we do. But the stats would suggest that we do. We've played 5 games with her this season, 5 without. The ones without scored 8, conceded 6, lost 3 of them. 2 of them in the Conte, the other one was Chelsea. On the flip, when she's played, we've scored 18, only conceded twice, and won all of them, obviously, in the league. So, Barry, do you think that is the case? Because, I mean, Ona for me was exceptional. I know we're going to get to play her in a match a little bit later on, but do you think that is now becoming part of the plan now, that we rely on her so much, not just from a defensive point of view, but going forward as well?
I think the problem you got with that Ona is there's no balance. That was the problem. It wasn't so much, like we said, Thor is not a right back, nor is she a left back. She's a centre back. That's where she plays best. When you backs in a full back position, they're not going to be getting forward and doing the overlaps as much as Ona did. So I just think it's really important that you have that balance. As long as you've got that, then you'll be all right. So, yes, we do rely a lot on Ona. Ona's a fantastic player. You know, let's have it correct. She is by far and away one of the best players in her position, probably in Europe at the moment. So, you know, I don't feel like you can say, do we rely on her too much? What I'd say is that the absence of Ona has proven that we need her in our game. And I think the defence looks better, feels better. The attack looks better and feels better. So, yes, we do rely on her too much, because that certainly sounds like the sort of thing I would say. You shouldn't really be relying on a right back for your attacking duties. But whether you should or whether you shouldn't kind of becomes a bit irrelevant, I think, on that one. So, yeah, I think ultimately, yeah, we are. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, as long as what she's doing is and that goal, by the way. Ooh. If you watch the video, the reason why I didn't cheer is because we didn't have a clue. We're like, she's not at the bar again, is she? Oh, no, she's at the post. And it's only when we finally saw it bulge in the net that we're like, oh, it's a goal. There you go. So, yeah, delayed reaction. But, yeah, she's some player. She really is.
If I can just jump in on what Barry said there, I think teams should be relying on their best players to lead the way. So there should be an element of relying on Ona, on Tooney, on Russo, on Galton, because they're your best players. So you are going to rely on them the same way as Arsenal will rely on Miedemar and Little and Leah Williamson. Like, look what's happened there when those players haven't been available. Of course you rely on your best players because they're the best ones on your side. So they should be doing more. You need them to do more. What I will say is, I think Sarah popped something up about this idea of Ona and the impact it has on Hannah Blundell, or Hannah Blundell plays better. I would agree with that. I think when Ona's not on the pitch, we rely more on the attacks on Hannah's side because we haven't got another right back that can do the job even half as well as Ona can. But I don't think anyone has. I think if you've got a world-class player, it's impossible to get a like-for-like replacement. I think when we've got both of those fullbacks, it makes us less one-dimensional when it comes building from the back and wanting to use the width. Because I thought Hannah was also brilliant at the weekend, and she was against Arsenal, because there are then those two avenues of attack when we're building from the back, and that makes it more difficult as well for the team you're playing. So Ona playing she's brilliant what she produces herself, but what that opens up for other players is also a real positive as well.
Yeah, I think I'd go as far as to say now, I don't think it's I think I tweeted the other day, I don't think Ona should be spoken about as one of the best right backs. I think she's one of the best players, not just in the WSL. I think in Europe right now, when you're looking across Europe, I think she's definitely in that kind of conversation. She's playing that well. Most United fans you speak to will rate her, but I think I put her on that kind of level now. I think we'll have to pay her a lot of money, I think, to try and keep hold of her next summer. But Jess, I'll throw the same question to you before we kind of look at some of the other goals as well. But it's kind of a nice little segue into the Ona goal, actually. But do you agree with that? Do you think we rely a lot on her for our attack?
Yeah, I think, again, it goes back to you do rely on your best players, in the same way that we kind of rely on Russo to score and Tooney to kind of do everything that Tooney does. I think you are always going to rely on your best players. And I'd say the problem is maybe in previous weeks, well, obviously, like you said, it's hard to kind of replace a player of that quality with the bench. But I think we do lack a little bit of depth in that position, which can kind of make us seem unbalanced when she's not playing. But I think just having a person or a player with that kind of stature and that ability, I think it just shores up the whole back line. I think because probably the rest of the players have a lot of confidence in her and her ability, I think just naturally she helps bring the rest of the back line to kind of their full potential and help them play. And that's what you want from your players. And that's what the best players in the world will do. But yeah, I think she's phenomenal. And I thought, for me, she was my player of the game at the weekend. And yeah, I think she's incredible. And I just hope we can keep her. But I'm really not sure.
Yeah, my mind changes every week as to whether she's going to stay or not. I really don't know. She doesn't do that many interviews, does she? So it's hard to kind of gauge with her.
Yeah, it really could go either way, but I can see her leaving, to be honest, which is going to be gutting for us, I reckon.
As long as she goes abroad, if she does leave, I can kind of semi-accept that. If she goes to the WSL side, that's going to be a killer.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We'll stick with the Ona goal then. I don't even know how to ask a question on it, because it was just, it's just a great strike. I think Lanzell put it earlier on. She only scores bangers, doesn't she, Ona? I don't think I've seen her score a kind of a simple-ish goal. She seems to just score worldies all the time. Obviously, the City won in the Conti last season as well, which was a nice finish. But Charlie, Barry said there that you didn't really know whether it had gone in or not. Were you kind of the same on that one?
Yeah, it obviously hit all of the woodwork. It happened, the entire woodwork, and then it was almost like a delayed reaction because I couldn't quite work out what happened. I thought there's no way. I tried to turn around to Barry and said, "There's no way that's not gone in off a Villa player. Surely that's deflected off somebody for that to have happened." And thankfully, you filmed it, but it was incredible. Like, not a surprise, but she is just that good. Hannah Hampton had literally no chance, but yeah, absolutely incredible. The build up to it was quite good as well. I say that, but now I can't remember what it is. All I'm thinking about is the build up to the last goal. That's not what it was. But again, it was another example of some really, I think it was Chris one-touch passing that got us into that position. A really good run from Ona. I can't believe the Villa player just let her glide into the into the 18-yard box and did nothing about it. I can't imagine that Queen Carla Ward will be happy about that. But she struck it so well. I'm glad Bazza filmed it, because I was like, that's gone in off a Villa player, or something mental's happened for that to go in. But she's just so good, isn't she? I just love. It feels like such a Man United player, that mentality to just stroll into the 18-yard box as a fullback and have the audacity and the arrogance to just go, I'm going to welly this as hard as I can. It's going to be the best goal that anyone's scored, and I'm a fullback. Good night. Like, she's just so good.
Near
And
post as well.
She looks happy. Like, she looks happy playing football. How physically fit is she as well? Bombing up and down that touchline all game, and then does that in the 75th minute or whatever it was. But so good. It was the best goal. It was the best goal of the day.
No, for sure. And I think you mentioned her fitness. We spoke about this, Charles, I think last year, or last season. I mean, earlier on in the year, about her fitness. She's probably one of the only players I look at and think she's not tired. I've never ever seen Ona tired. Like, no matter how many games we play, even on the big pitch like Old Trafford, she's always, like you said, up and down that line. And like I said, near post as well. She didn't go for the far corner like most people do. She thought, there's a little gap in the top right. Just hit it there. So, and she did get the assist for the last goal, Charlie, if you're thinking about the build-up for that one. I think it was, for her goal, I think it was Zellum into Thomas from memory, and then Thomas into Ona. So if that is it, I've got a better memory than I thought. Jess, Barry, anything to add on Ona's goal and kind of wrapping up her kind of influence on this team?
Oh, her goal just tops off, I think, a fantastic performance. But I mean, you can question what the Villa players were doing, kind of giving anyone that much space in the box and just leaving it completely unmarked. But at the end of the day, she still had to turn and she had to finish it. And it wasn't, like you say, it's near post. It wasn't the easiest finish. She probably picked the hardest route to goal. But yeah, I mean, there's not really anything more to say about that finish because it was just incredible.
Is Barry going to add anything? He's nodding away.
Already? Brilliant goal. Loved it.
There we are. Nice and easy. I don't know which goal to pick. I don't really want to talk about Zellum's too much unless anyone's got anything on that one, because I think that's mainly down to Hampton's mistake, I think, on that one.
Absolutely.
The only quick thing I will say, and I'm sure I turned someone and said this, is how we were attacking in numbers. So when that goal was scored, there were 4 or 5 United players in the box, which is a difference, which is something different to last year when we were like, there's no one in the box, there's no one there. Russo's having to collect the ball, cross the ball, and try and meet your own ball. Like, there was 5 players in there, so if it wasn't Zellum, it was going to be somebody else, which is, again, another positive with regards to how we're attacking.
Yeah, I'd also just add quickly, it's also a huge positive just having that kind of like finishers, poachers mentality. You're gambling on the keeper making a mistake or spilling it. So just to have, like you say, a number of players there, I think it's fantastic and a great improvement over last season.
No, I'd agree with that. I think I'll tie the second and the third into one because they were both, for me, brilliant passes by Tooney anyway. So I want to bring her into this conversation. She is on the player of the match poll as well. Obviously, Galton scored the second one, Russo with the third. Like I said, both for me are in the kind of build-up and the pass from Ella Toon. And Charlie, is this Tooney now back to... We've questioned her a little bit this season in terms of, people said Euros hangover and all the things that have been thrown at her this season. Are we now starting to see the Ella Toon of the back end of last season, or kind of mid last season, where she was completely on fire?
Yeah, the last 2 games I think have been her best 2 performances of the season. I know she scored a brace against, was it Everton? I can't remember. She scored a brace against somebody, didn't she? But I think these last 2 games, she's been incredible. And it's no surprise that it's against Arsenal at the Emirates and then it's against Villa at Old Trafford. She's a big game player and she stepped up really well. You definitely know that she will have wanted to have scored yesterday. Definitely will have. But even though she didn't, she provided so much more. And like both of those balls that she played were perfect and completely different types of assists as well. So again, yeah, brilliant from her. And I have no doubt playing City at the Etihad next week, she'll be firing on all cylinders for that as well.
Yeah, 100%. Jess, for you, how good was Tooney in that game? Like I said, the 2 passes, the one to Galton that kind of just threaded through the middle, and then, like as Charlie said, 2 completely different passes. The one for Russo, where it's just kind of whipped across the box on the right hand side.
Yeah, I mean, both were pretty much perfect. I think the defence, the Villa defence, were questionable to say the least for what they did, but we just were pulling them apart with our passing, and a lot of that was coming through Ella Toone in the middle. To pick out kind of Galton for that first goal was incredible, and the ball across to Russo, it was just, I think it was the weight behind it. It was sort of just perfectly weighted. Russo had basically next to nothing to do, and that was kind of all down to Tooney. She was phenomenal. For me, it was between her and Ona for who was going to be my player of the match. Ona probably just pipped her, but I could probably watch the game again and quite easily change my mind and choose Tooney, because they really. She was on fire, and I think now it is great to see her kind of playing pretty much to her full potential. And a derby goal for this weekend, I think, would sort of icing on the cake.
Indeed. We're going to get you got about 5 minutes or so to get your votes in on the poll. I think one player is currently on 61%, so I think she's going to win it. But I can't believe, after everything Charlie said, Deborah picked up on the one incorrect thing you said, Charlie, when you said that she wanted to score yesterday rather than Saturday. I can't believe you picked that up. I don't know whether anyone else did, but eagerly Deborah over there picked up on that one. But Charlie said something then, but she's on mute, so we didn't get to hear that one. But there we are. Barry, go on and talk to me about Tooney and kind of her performance. And Jess was saying there, and Charlie said that two completely different types of assists, but brilliant nonetheless.
Yeah, I think really what we can say about Tooney is that we've said that she hasn't necessarily been in the races for the first few games of this season. So we've performed as well as we have and done as well as we have, with Toon not necessarily firing on all cylinders. If you stick Ella Toone when she's at her best, she's unplayable. So I think if we can, as Tooney turning the corner, then people have got to worry. They really have. And let's not forget as well, opportunity in the against Villa to stop that from going to penalty shootout. She had the one-on-one opportunity just before the end. I think that Ella Toone, with the confidence that she was showing on Saturday, not yesterday, if she had managed to have that confidence, we'd be having a different conversation when it comes to the Everton preview as well. So delighted for her, really, because she's Man United through and through, and we love that about Ella Toone. So yeah, I was really, really pleased, and I think the ball to Russo was brilliant from the wing, but I think the one that set through for Galton, that was the nice one for me. That was the one I enjoyed the most.
No, 100%. There's a lot of shouts talking about Galton in the comments as well. Someone we've not really spoken about tonight, but again, she was one of the other players that we were going to put on the player of the match. It was close between her and a couple of the others because, again, I think she's just doing what she does, isn't she, Galton, at the moment. So yeah, that's some good plaudits for her as well, for sure. We're going to get to player of the match then, because we are going to talk a little bit about the Everton game before we wrap up today. There's a couple of chats, just a couple of comments actually talking about the City game. We're going to be back on Friday doing the City preview. Emma Sean will be back on, as I'm sure fans' favourite, as everyone likes her when she comes on, and another City fan as well that we've not had on before will be on Friday to preview that one. So be sure to come in for that, because as I always say on these previews, we need some United fans in the comments to back up what we're saying, because I'm sure Emma's already said she's coming in confident. So keep an eye out for that one on Friday. Let's come to each of you then. Player of the match. Charlie, who have you gone for and why?
I voted for, I can't remember. I think I voted for Ona. I think it was Ona that I voted for. I think defensively she was solid. She was an incredible outlet. She really good assist for Queen Rachel Williams, who we haven't talked about enough, which I've just noticed. Obviously a brilliant goal as well, and her influence is massively important. So Ona was who I went for.
I was going to say, if people's not seen the vlog yet, go and watch it from yesterday. You see a live reaction from Charlie. There's two comments actually on the vlog about that.
There was so many nuanced moments in that build up to that goal that just made it phenomenal. So many.
Yeah, I knew as soon as she scored, I thought, I really hope. No, I'm not a hope, because I knew he would, but I knew as soon as that goal went, I was like, I bet Barry's filmed Charlie's reaction to this. And there it was when it came through, and Barry was sending all the videos. And as Ali said, was thinking of you, Charlie, because I think just on Williams as well, her interview was fantastic, by the way. She just seems like just a cool person to be around, I'm sure. So yeah, Charlie, she is your mate, and we're happy that she's off the score. She as well. Jess, go on, and your player of the match and why?
Mine is also Ona, pretty much for all the same reasons. I thought her work rate for the entire game was just phenomenal. Her goal, like I say, was just icing on the cake, and I think she really deserved it. A great assist for the goal at the end there as well. But yeah, I just thought a lot of creativity kind of came from her, and nice and stable at the back. Yeah, her work rate was just second to none.
No, 100%. And Sarah, just very quickly before Barry jumps in, yes, you do. You won't be sat down, though. I don't think everyone stands where we where we usually are at games, but you're more than welcome to come and join us. We're trying to grow that section, aren't we? Especially at LSV. I think when I started going just over a year last season, there was only kind of 4 rows where people stood. That's now gone down to 5 and 6 now. So we're getting there. We're going to have that whole block standing, I'm sure, by the end of maybe this season. Who knows? Go on, Barry. Who was your player of the match and why?
It's got to be Vilda Reese, hasn't it? The best 5 minutes of football that's ever been played. I guess it's Ona, without a doubt. It was Ona. Looking at the goals again, it was her who put the ball through for Tooney to cross in for Russo. Her goal, she sort of starts and finishes that move. To Zella, who knocks it back out to Thomas, who gives the ball back to her. She's just involved in everything we did, and so yeah, I can't really fault her. I'd have to give it to Ona today.
Didn't she put the cross in for the first goal as well? The one that Russo headed in onto Hampton. So she was involved in the first, Russo's, her own, and the fifth. So 4 out of the 5 goals, and a clean sheet as well. So yeah, I think Ona for me it was always going to be. I just think I don't need to add anything what else has said defensively and attacking wise. And 53% agree with us as well. So 53% has gone to Ona. 51 now. Someone else has just voted someone else. So 51 for Ona, 5 for Russo, 41 for Toon, and 3 for Zelen. So Ona wins it just. I feel like if we left that poll up for another 10 minutes, though, Toon is catching. She's been catching for about 5-10 minutes. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that for the next 15 minutes before we wrap up. I want to talk a little bit about the Everton game then, because we're not going to do a full preview on this. The first question I've got is, do we expect much rotation? With the City game in mind, we've got to win this. We've got to win it in 90. If we've got any chance of getting out of this group, we've got to win this in 90 minutes. What would you do, Charlie? Would you heavily rotate? We've seen how that's cost us against Durham and Villa. Is the City game too important to risk key players? How are you viewing this game now?
I always want them to win. And obviously they'll always set up to win. But I just feel like how we've approached this bizarrely set out tournament gives me the impression that, it's clearly not a priority, is it? Quite clearly it's not. So I would expect him to rotate. I would expect to see Sophie Bagley in goal, being a little bit too small in goal. I'd expect Tunkara to come in. Probably keep one of the centre backs the same. Jade Moore's going to come in. Leon's going to come in. Vilda Reese will start. So I expect quite a lot of changes, which means we could probably. I don't think Everton will. I think Everton will play strongest lineup. So yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I always want them to win. They'll set up to win, but I would also loathe it if we approached it as, we might get knocked out, so play the strongest starting 11 and then something happens to somebody, because an injury to Ona or to Mary or to Tooney or Russo, it's not what you want. I'd rather just fully rotate and not risk that, to be quite honest. I think the game against City is so big, and it's bigger than it would have been because we've won these last 2 games. Because we've beaten Arsenal and because we've beaten Villa, I think it's actually ramped up the importance of beating City. So
yeah,
everyone in bubble wrap.
And I think as well, when you look at, I'm going to bring the tables up in a moment. When you look at the groups, I think there's only 1 second place team go through. I think that's right, isn't it?
Boring tournament, isn't it? What is it?
So if only 1 second place team go through, we're probably going to struggle, because Liverpool and City, City are on 6, but they've only played 2. Liverpool are already on 9. So one of those 2 teams are going to be on 9. We're only on 2 at the moment. We cannot, I don't think, qualify anyway, even if we get 6. So I don't know how it all works, but I don't think we've got a full chance anyway of getting through now. But Jess, what would you do? Would you go treat this game as a must-win in 90 and go heavy on it? Would you heavily rotate? What would you do for this one?
I mean, again, I'm the same. You always want to win, especially. I'd like to see us have a kind of decent cup run. However, based on the first two results, to me, I think it's kind of game, set, and match now already. I think we're kind of out of that cup. We need to just accept it almost. As much as I would love to see us win, I think, City this weekend is just too important. So I think we should be focusing on that. That being said, I do still think that we do have a good enough team and a good enough depth to have kind of done better in the previous games. So I don't fully understand, like everyone else, no one fully understands the kind of layout of the Conti Cup. I think the points are basically like points per game because not every group has the same number of teams. It's a really stupid layout to begin with that I don't think anyone particularly likes. So I think that's another reason why most people are more inclined to just kind of focus on the WSL and want to kind of put all your time and resources into that. So yeah, I want to wrap everyone in bubble wrap as well and just keep them all ready for the weekends.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, some groups have only got 4 teams, aren't they? So they can't get more points in a group with 4. They could, but it's unlikely. Yeah, so it's got to be. Oh, that's confusing me now.
What they do is they divide it by the number of games played. So they divide the points by the number of games, and they have a points per game.
I don't know whether we can even qualify or not. To be honest, we're on. I'm just looking at the group. I'm just going to bring it up so everyone can see what I'm on about. Let me just share my tab quickly because it kind of links into. Here we go. Let's see if anyone can see this. There we go. So I'm just looking at kind of our group. We're on 2. The maximum we can get now if we win in 93, 5, 7, 8. So we can get up to 8 points. So looking at that, City are going to win at least another one. So they're going to be on 9. So that group, and if it's only one that go through, we can't qualify anyway. Because if it's only one second place team, well, one of those 2 are going to be on 9. So we can't overtake them regardless.
If we beat Everton, we've
got to win the group, haven't we?
5. So we could bizarrely win our group potentially still, just about.
Just.
Because even if we beat Everton, we are on 5 points, having played 3. And Sheffield United can only be on 4.
We need somebody to
staggering. That's baffling. The fact that you can have lost to Villa and Durham on penalties, which is bizarre in itself in a weird league-based competition. I don't know.
That's the point. Sorry, Jess, I'm just going to have to cover you up for a second. I don't know why it does this, why it doesn't just move everyone up. But if Villa do have to play Everton, then we kind of need that to go to penalties and then somebody to win on penalties, rather Everton, and then we leapfrog to first. It's just bizarre.
It's bizarre, and I don't think anyone really likes the structure, and I don't really think it does women's football much good. I mean, I had my family at the weekend questioning what game was being played midweek and asking me to try and explain the Conti Cup, and I was like, I'm not even sure where to begin. My brother was asking me if it was like a Nations League kind of setup, and I was like, well, I don't think so. It's more of a tournament, but you can also get this extra point if you win on penalties, and it was just baffling for all of us, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the comments that don't really know either.
That's just big Papa John's trophy of the women's game, isn't it? And it's not brilliant. I just think this is the opportunity now because of the way that Mark's chosen to play it. I see you, but for want of a better term, the second string out. It hasn't worked, is the answer to that. It hasn't worked. We didn't do well enough against Villa. We didn't do well enough against Durham. And I can't be positive, sorry. So this is why people need to get their head a wobble. I've been frustrated this weekend because we won 5-0 and all I've seen is complaining. Genuinely, it's all I see is complaining. Borisa hasn't played. So-and-so hasn't been given enough time. And it's like, we're actually battling for the title here, guys. We're actually battling for a title, right? I get the Conti Cup isn't doing well, but we are absolutely battling for a title. And we've still got people going, this player should be playing. This player should be playing. Can we all just stop? And you know, we've clapped for the NHS. We've clapped for it. Can we just give Mark Skinner a round of applause? Because this chap, in my opinion, is working absolute miracles. Was it you earlier on? I was talking to Charlie. Didn't you say something along the lines of the fact that we are 9 points better off this time?
Oh yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
we were this time last year.
Yeah, after 8 games last year, we had 12 points, and now we've got 21. And some of those are like, obviously, we've picked up 5 points against Arsenal and Everton that we dropped by this time last year.
And this is what we're doing. And yet we're coming out of here going, Katie Zedham needs to be dropped, so Vilda Russo, let's be clear, doesn't even play in that position. Very different players. But this person should be playing there. I'm absolutely bamboozled. I've seen it in the comments. Should Adriana Leon be playing? Well, no, not at the moment. She shouldn't, because we're winning. These are the conversations we should have been having last year when we're talking about a team that weren't doing well and that were giving up the games and that weren't doing everything they could have done because they were losing those last-minute goals. We're not doing that anymore. We're not doing it anymore. We're winning. We're doing well. And still they moan. It's the most frustrating aspect of football for me. It really is the number of people that are just never happy. Doesn't matter what you do. And I feel like we need to stop catering to these people and stop pandering to them because they're an irrelevance.
That's the comment, isn't it? If it's not, but I do think in relation to this Everton game, this is where you rotate. This is where you bring in all these players that have been mentioned that need game time. You have to play them now because if not,
100%.
when are you going to?
I've got no problems playing them against Everton. Play you like, stick the devs out. I couldn't care less genuinely about this game against Everton. I'm not fussed. I'm not fussed about the game against Sheffield United. The game against City is massive. You know, the way as I see it, stick Saf Middleton Patel up front. Brilliant. Not a problem. I've got zero problems with any of that now. The point I'm making is these players that we're calling to start matches haven't done it in their second string opportunity. So I just want people to be a little bit more positive about how well we're actually doing at the moment and just stop with the ridiculous agendas that are coming out.
No, it's a fair point. A lot of people in the comments agreeing with you as well, which is usual. I was going to say unusual, but it's not. Usually people agree with what you're saying.
Fact. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true.
Sang's just happy that it's not him that's annoyed you, because that's usually.
No, Sang, you can upset me. You couldn't.
No, it's for sure. But Sang might be a bit worried. We're coming, as Barry says, coming for the title a little bit. I've kind of asked all my Everton questions in one go there, because I've got the 3 questions I've written down is, can we qualify? Should we rotate? And should we expect to win? And you've kind of answered all of them.
So absolutely no idea. Yes and no. There you go.
They're going to play. Grace Clinton's going to play, and she's going to score the winning goal. And then everybody's going to be talking about how we could get through in the Conti Cup again. You heard it here first.
There was a couple of questions about that. Is Grace back for Everton? Does anyone know?
She wasn't on the bench at the weekend, was she?
No, she was sat next to Nancy Baker. But she's definitely recovered from injury. I'm sure she has.
I thought I'd seen something about her being, her being like back in full training now.
So this is probably the game that you'd expect her to at least play. I'd be amazed if he doesn't play.
Yeah, Clinton and Williams kicking 10 shades out of Gabby George and whoever that other one is. Who's that other one that no one's heard of? I don't know.
I can't remember. I'll be honest, I can't remember I can't remember a lot at the moment. But okay, I'll ask a different kind of question. Who's, just to kind of round off this Everton preview, because I'm with you, Barry, a little bit. I don't now that we're like you said, we can still win the group, but ultimately, because of where we are in the league now, all my kind of focus is on that rather than, if we get through the Conti Cup, great, it'd be brilliant. But the league is the one. Which one player do you want to see start and that you hope performs to kind of push on for the rest of the season? Obviously, Vilda's the talk at the moment. Somebody said earlier if she doesn't play, she'll be off next summer. I'll be looking at January, to be honest. But who are you excited for, Charlie? Who do you want to see start and play well?
I would like Garcia to have a good game midweek. I think she's since she's come back from injury, she's not had many minutes. So I think it'd be a good opportunity for her to get back into the swing of things, because she is someone who should be putting up a bit of a fight for starting in the league, I think. So a good performance from her would be good. And obviously, big bad Rachel Williams. 2 goals in 2 performances it'll be from her. 2 in 2.
You'll have to get another picture with her if you do. Get another mate's picture.
I can't believe we didn't talk about her goal.
Well, you can talk about it if you want. It's up to
Okay,
you.
so really quickly, sorry, Jessa Murray. So she barreled over an Aston Villa defender. The sheer audacity of it, just chested her out, body checked her, then received the ball, stopped it dead, took a touch, arrogance, and waited for Maz Pacheco to fall on her arse, and then just popped it in. And then the cherry on the cake, I won't celebrate, thanks very much, because I knew I was going to do that. Anyway, so yeah, Lucia Garcia. I'd like to see her have a good game midweek.
I was going to say, there's a reason we decided to stick Williams on the thumbnail. If you'd have seen it, there you go. Look, right on the thumbnail, centre stage.
Maya Letizia looked like a giant.
I was going to say Maya looks so tall in that picture. But yeah, fair point, and it was a good goal. But we're not going to take that away from her. But Jess, who do you want to see, and who you expecting or you want to play well on Wednesday night?
I'd like to see Grace Clinton. I saw her a little bit pre-season, and to be fair, I thought that what I did see, I thought she looked like a really sort of good player, promising talent. So for me, I think I'd just like to see what she can do, basically. It'd be good to kind of see her in, essentially a proper game. I know we don't really maybe see the Conti Cup as a proper cup or a proper anything really, but at the end of the day, it is supposed to be a football match, a professional one. So yeah, it'll be good to hopefully see her if she is in fact back from injury. I think as well, Boa Risa, give her a bit of a run out, give her a chance. I think this could be kind of like the last chance maybe for her. I think you said it's looking like potentially she could be going in January. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Adriana Leon. I think when she has played, she's done all right. I think potentially I would have liked to have seen her perform a little better in some previous games. So it would be good to maybe see her and Garcia and give them another shot again. Hopefully, maybe bag a couple of goals. We'll see.
Well, sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at, what is this comment supposed to mean, Sang? If you don't have a trophy yet in the cabinet, it is proper as real butter. Is that supposed to be some kind of like? I don't know. I don't quite know. Wait, he's gone for another thing here. As proper as not. It's taken an hour and 7 minutes for someone to bring that up, and I'm disappointed it's you, Sang. I was expecting it from Mark or from Andy or somebody. So there we are. Barry, what do you reckon? Who do you want to see Wednesday? Same question really. Who do you want to see? Who do you want to see really perform to kind of kick their season on?
I'd like to see Jackie get her first goal. That'd be great. That was last season. I think I already answered that. Grace is my answer. I want to see Grace do well. We've not seen her since that pre-season game. I was really excited in that pre-season game. She looked like she had something about her. So yeah, for me, I want to see Grace Clinton come on and do well.
No, fair points as well. Sorry, I was trying to bring a comment up and then 4 more came in and pushed that comment all the way up. I can't remember where it's gone. I can't find it. Yeah, I think for me, Leon is probably a shout. Bo Risa, it's probably more of a putting herself in the shop window type game if she plays well, more than pushing her way into the squad. She might still stay. Everyone knows my thoughts on that. I think she's probably off in January. What's this? Should have signed Daly. Potentially. I don't think she'd come to United though. But who knows? Maybe one day.
Have you seen our fullbacks and our strikers? All right,
somebody. I think
wasn't even the best Rachel on the pitch on Saturday.
I think Lanzell put it earlier actually about Maz Pacheco. She'd get into our starting 11. I know me and Lanzell spoke about this on Saturday night. I think she would. I think she starts in our team. But there we are. Charles looking at me like.
Are you saying she was the best of her what I would call a bad bunch.
Yeah, I think Pacheco was a solid 7 or 8 in that game. Yeah,
On
she
what
had
grounds? On what grounds?
she had Honor on her side, so playing up against a world-class fullback anyway is difficult.
give
But I think she
over.
just. Oh, come on. Do you not think she starts? And I don't like doing this because it's kind of downplaying our own thing. But
No.
Connor, she doesn't. Because if I won't even let Vilda Risa play, why am I going to let an opposition player play? Back in your box, host boy.
Lanzel's with me. Cover when Honor's out. No, I think left-hand side.
Lansdale knows I love him, but no.
So what I'm getting
the
from
team
this
we've
is
got at the moment
Connor
challenging for the title.
hates Hannah Blundell.
Oh, don't start that.
You didn't deny it. We've all just
I
heard
don't.
it.
Yeah.
She's a quality fullback. I just think Maz would get in ahead of her. There we are. Yeah.
Hannah Blundell is having the season of her life.
She has been class, hasn't she, Hannah Blundell?
Saying it's nothing to do with sugar. I'm not well. And when I'm not well, I have a lot of all that legendary patience that I've shown for the last year that I've been on this wonderful channel just rapidly disappears. So I don't suffer any fools when I'm not well. It really is as simple as that. So all this absolute that's being spoken, I can't sit here and just go, oh yes, lovely, yes, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Yeah, it's great. You're entitled to your opinion. You're also entitled to be a moron. So it's all great.
But don't be scared of putting your opinion in there if Barry disagrees with it.
Listen, I'm not the flipping be all and end all, am I? Let's be honest. Is it really a big problem for you if a 40-year-old fat 5'2" chap from Stevenage doesn't agree with your opinion? No, not at all. But I'm not paid to give my opinion, and that's my opinion. All right. So there we are. Just saying.
Jess, welcome to the channel.
That was fantastic.
Can I just say, Jess has done brilliantly, and all the more brilliantly because that car. I mean, far be it for me to not talk about the football because God forbid we should ever do that and to go off script. But that car in front of you, what was it doing?
I don't know. It's even worse when it was a driving instructor as well.
That was what worried me. Was there not somebody there who was actually learning?
No, it was the actual driving instructor did that.
Crikey. Can you see the number in the video? Because I kind of feel like nobody should ever call that person.
So if you want to learn to drive with Bill Plant and his driving instructors, don't.
Oh, good old Bill Plant.
So
We've got some of them down.
I keep seeing his cars around town and like getting a bit of PTSD.
Key him.
Yeah. So,
to be honest, for Bill Plant, I don't think this is the best way to see his business grow.
I didn't think he'd be getting a shout out on an Awful United attraction show. But for context, yes.
Just really quickly, if anyone was interested, according to FootMob on Saturday, Maz Pacheco was a 4.9.
Well, yeah,
only
she
worse than by Anna Patton.
Blundell
was a 7.6.
Well, yeah, she conceded 5. You're not going to be a high rating. But it wasn't.
And she was on her bottom when Rachel Williams popped it over. No, I'm only joking. I'd have her as backup, of course.
We do not endorse that, by the way. We do not endorse committing crimes on this channel. I will just throw that out there before anyone tries to report this video or anything. But yes, Charlie, I'm going to change your name on my phone to that. Deary me. I can't remember what my last question was going to be. Oh, that was it. Score prediction for Wednesday then. Go on. I'll do a quick fire on that one. Charlie, what do you reckon?
You just know we're going to win like 3 or 4-0 when it's irrelevant in the Conti Cup. That's what I think. And we'll all have a lovely time.
Jess, for yourself?
Do you know what? I'm sort of thinking down like the same sort of train of thought. I'm thinking like a 2-1, 2-0. I think it'll still be close, but I think we could do it purely because we've decided it no longer matters. So I think at this point, we'll then decide to maybe try and actually win a game. But yeah, I'm going to say 2-1.
Barry?
6-0. Thor's going to score 2. A Saf Middleton Patel hat trick. And no, 3-0. Yeah, 3-0. I reckon Rachel's going to score again this time from 6 yards out rather than 2. She's going to do a little drag back and then do like a little back heel a la Alessia Russo.
Across the season, just progressively score from further back until she's in her own half.
Right? Absolutely. And then she's going to take a goal kick and then whoop, there we go. Bounce over the top of the goalie. Grace Clinton will also score. And I think there's going to be a goal from either Tunkara or Turner.
No, that's a fair point. I did see that as well, Shane. As soon as Barry's in, Rachel's going to score. Yeah, I think, to be honest, I agree, actually. I think she probably will. I think 3-0 as well. Yeah, Rachel.
She was wearing white. I don't know if you've noticed this, Jess, as well, but Rachel Williams has been having a shirt tucked in wearing black boots a la Michael Carrick. But Old Trafford game, shirt out, bright white pumps on. So I reckon that's the difference. She turns to a bit of a Flash Harry.
I think that's it, yeah. I'm expecting like an overhead kick or something. I'm not seeing.
My gosh. Imagine.
Something wild is going to happen. I'm just.
In answer your question,
do you remember?
Oh,
sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know. Is it on TV? I can't actually. I don't know. I think it's FA Player.
I don't know. Probably not. When did they ever put things on the telly? But do you remember we had years and years and years ago? You probably wouldn't remember, Connor, because you have no idea about popular culture whatsoever. No point talking to you about it, is it? But there used to be a song. It was done, I think, with Striker, and it was called "We're Gonna Do It Again," and it was the Manchester United FA Cup song, and that's going to be our song for Rachel. Rachel's going to do it again. United. So yeah,
you're on your own with that one, Barry.
It's a great song. Great song.
Has anyone else heard of that? I think you might be on your own.
No, but I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
You might be on something. Yeah, Slater, if you're in the comments, get that one. Try and write that one up. We'll get that into the songbook.
It's not from the songbook, mate. It was released. It's in the charts, bruv.
You know what I mean. Okay. So I don't think it is on TV. Looking at what Shane's put, possibly on MUTV, and then someone just said MUTV is showing the men's game in Spain, which is ludicrous. It's a friendly. Why?
It'll be on the FA. Isn't it on the FA Player with just one camera that's slightly too far back on the roof, so you can only see like that of the pitch?
And Shane, I can't believe he's just said that either. I never thought I'd hear that come out of his mouth. Oh yeah.
What was that?
Speaking of charts, just before we wrap this one up, Barry, you kind of announced this last week.
Yes, it is. 7.
Okay, there we go.
I can confirm.
Oh, is it? Is it on the FA Play? Was that you broke up halfway through that?
Yes, it is, because it says football in the FA Player, 7:00.
There we go.
And you're like, we're going to be Everton winning.
Oh, hang about. Just before I bring up the last point I was going to, tonight's had 7 point. Jess, you've improved our. Basically, if you've watched before, Sang usually does a hairline score, and it's usually below 6. So that's quite good. I'll take that for tonight. 7.6.
It was a good thing I turned up then. I'm average.
There we go. Quite like that. And here we go. It's what, an hour and 20?
Just point out as well, I'm not bald. I'm not. Look at this. I'm not bald. My hair's just got lost. Can't find its way home from the wrong part.
Yes, you keep saying this, Barry. But just to finish this show off, then you mentioned it last week, Barry. Speaking of charts, All for United Christmas #1. Where we at with that? We put a tweet out about it. Basically, if you don't know, you get 1 vote or 2 votes, however Barry's doing it, and just pick your favourite United song for the season, and whichever is #1 by the time we do our last show before Christmas. Go on, Barry.
Not in the charts. Not in the charts, bruv, on this one. We're creating the charts. So, yeah. Whatever your favourite chant is, obviously, if you're one of the 29,997 people that didn't bother singing at the weekend, you may not have one. But for the other 200 of you, yeah, choose your favourite chant. Could be anyone. Could be something as simple as United, all the way up to the United Calypso. So send them along, tweet them. But yeah, we'd love to hear it.
No, fair enough. There's a couple of shouts already there. Shane's gone for that
Ellie,
one.
you're allowed one vote.
I was going to say, Ellis,
Whatever song you voted for. Pick your favourite. There's not all of them. I can't take your vote seriously.
Have you got any, Jess, just off the top of your head, just quickly before we wrap this up? Is there any spring to mind?
What, United? Do you know what? I'm just partial to a classic United chant. Like, I'm a bit of a classic. I think it's one of those that once someone starts chanting it, everyone will just carry on because it's so basic. And I think that's sometimes that's what we need, especially in the women's game, just because you can't go wrong. You know, it's not hard for people to figure out. And quite honestly, if people can't figure it out, then that's on them.
I do have to say to you, Jess, even that song is nuanced. Because
yeah, I can understand it can be hard for people to wrap their head.
You can either go United, or there's United. Which one of the two is it?
Yeah, I like a bit of clapping in between. I think it really.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like sets the mood.
I don't know if they still do, but they play that at the Old Trafford stadium tour when you're walking out. That's the kind of the chant that they play when you walk out of the stadium tour. I'm pretty sure they do. They did about 6 years ago when I last went anyway. I mean, if you can't work that one out, there's not much hope. And yeah, we've covered this, Shane. If you go back to watch at the start, there was some interesting thoughts on that one as well. But I'm struggling still to find a single person. I thought that was a good idea. But there we are. Yes, Barry will be back on Thursday, and we'll do a little bit more kind of on this kind of Christmas number one thing. I don't know how many shows we've got now until Christmas. There'll be, I'm trying to think now, 10 more, something like that. Depends how many games we've got. So yeah, we're back on Thursday. The Everton reaction, which technically the fans forum, but talking about the Everton game. Then we're back on Friday for the City preview with 2 City fans joining us on there as well. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Jess, thanks for coming on. Absolutely smashed your debut, and I'm sure, well, I hope that you'll be back on soon. I hope you're not just going to block us as soon as this show finishes.
Yeah, I'm blocking you. I think I might be in the firing line today. Grumpy Bazza.
So, no, I hope everyone's enjoyed it. Make sure you like it and subscribing if you are new around here. We're now only 18 away from 1,000 subscribers. So if you could hit that subscribe button, it'd be greatly appreciated. And tell your friends to subscribe as well. So I think what we set in the target is 1,000 by Christmas, I think is the aim. So that's literally one a day from now until Christmas Day. So hopefully we can hit that. Yeah, so make sure you're doing all those things. Predictions, league scores. I'll tweet the fixtures out tomorrow. Make sure you get those in. I don't want to be going around chasing people as me and Barry usually do. So yeah, make sure you get those in, and we shall see you in the next one.